Hi students! Today we're starting a 2-day project called the Dynamic Character Analysis Body Biography. So yesterday you did a short little mini web quest exploring the difference between static and dynamic characters. So let's review what a dynamic character is, because that's going to be the basis of our project over the next 2 days. So at the top of our project document here, a dynamic character is a character that undergoes an important change throughout the course of a story. So when we see a character either mature or we see them grow in their mindset or their beliefs about something, we call that character a dynamic character. So in our novel, Sun, we have many dynamic characters who undergo a change throughout the course of the novel and even throughout the different books within the novel. So what you're going to be doing is directions. Choose a character from Lois Lowry's Sun that you feel underwent a change throughout the books. You're going to create a piece of analytical art for the character with one half of the person's body, him or her, representing the character before the change and one half representing the character after the change. So we're going to take a look at, on page 2, the document in a moment. And I do have a Canvas tip there for you, and I'll explain that here in one moment. But first, let's start with our anchor. So for the anchor, you're going to commit to a character and you're going to map out what is the change that this character underwent. Was it a change in maturity? Was it a change in their mindset or their beliefs about something? Was it a change in opinion? How have they grown? So here, which character are you selecting for your dynamic character? Right here, you're going to put Claire or Gabe or Jonas or Alice. Any of the characters that you feel has undergone a change. And then here you're going to briefly describe the change that you feel the character underwent, and you're going to explain the reasoning behind the change. Specifically, how has the character grown? Okay, so this is your anchor. You're just committing to your character. On page 2 is where you're going to create your piece of analytical art. So this is called a body biography. It's a character body, and you're going to be decorating it with symbolism and colors and quotations and all kinds of things that represent this character's growth. So you'll notice that down the center of the character, there's a line. On the left-hand side, you're going to be decorating your character with content that shows him or her before the change. And then on the right-hand side of the character's body, you're going to be changing the art and showcasing how he or she was at the end of the novel and how the change affected him or her. So each of these different pieces of text here has a requirement that must be added to your body biography. However you want to do this is totally fine. If you want to create a poster and just use this as a reference and design everything fresh and new, you can do that. If you want to design directly onto this, you can. So on Canvas, and that's part of my Canvas tip up here, when you design your body art, if you choose text that has a white background and you type your pieces directly over top of the requirements, then it will cover that content with your own. And I'll show you an example of that in a moment here. But let's go through the criterion. So by the head of the character, you're going to choose on the left a quote that represents your character's way of thinking before he or she underwent the change. And then on the right, you're going to choose a quote that represents the character after he or she underwent the change and how they think later in the text. So again, this whole thing is about juxtaposition, showing a change in the character. For your quotes, you are going to make sure they are set up in MLA format. So your quotes need to have a lead-in, which is your own words introducing the author's words in quotation marks, kicking out the punctuation at the end. And then you need to have a citation at the end, which is parenthesis, author, last name, page number, and parenthesis and period. Okay, so by the head, how the character has changed in his or her way of thinking. Near the heart, you're going to show a change in emotion or feeling. So you're going to choose a quote that represents your character's feelings and emotions before the change. And then on the other side, you're going to choose a quote that represents your character's feelings and emotions after the change. Again, this whole thing is to show how the character is dynamic. All right, near the hands, here you're going to illustrate a symbolic object that your character holds, and then you're going to explain its relevance. So what is an object that is important to him or her, and why is that? And you can put that in the left or the right hand, depending on when the object is relevant to your character. If it's relevant the entire time, then you can note that, but you will do that with text next to the object. Okay, right here we have some guts. These characters have some guts. Describe a struggle that your character underwent and how it brought about his or her growth. So this is really important because we're thinking about the reason behind the change. What is either an event or a conversation or a setting that really forced the character into that personal growth? Okay, let's keep looking. In the background, illustrate a representation of the character's surroundings towards the beginning of the novel. And then on the right-hand side, in the background, illustrate a representation of the character's surroundings at the end of the novel. So again, you can fill this in the background over here. You can design it however you want. You have creative freedom, but I'm going to show you an example in a moment here. Okay, near the feet. See where I've been. Describe the most meaningful, positive moment your character had in the novel and why it was special to him or her. That's really showcasing the positive in the change. So that's important to our character. And then here you're going to decorate your body with details that represent his or her visual description in the text. All right, so I'm going to show you an example. So here I did a body biography model on a character that you're familiar with, but not one of your choices, so that I don't take anything that you were already thinking of doing. This is Maya Angelou from I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, the memoir that we read at the beginning of the school year. So on the left-hand side, I designed her when she was quiet, she was reserved, she was inside herself. She was working and living in her grandmother's store in Stamps, Arkansas. She was in a negative mind frame. The only person she would talk to was Bailey, her brother. And so, again, near the head, I have thoughts that she was having, pulled as a quote. Near the heart, how she was feeling, pulled as a quote. I have an explanation of my symbol. I have an explanation of positive experience that she had. I have symbolism in the background that represents the setting towards the beginning of the novel. And then on the right-hand side, I show her growth. So she went from being reserved, quiet, depressed, living and working in her grandmother's store. And then she has the experience with Mrs. Flowers, her mentor. And Mrs. Flowers reads to her, and she bakes her cookies and brings her lemonade and shows her that she cares about her and inspires her to write and to speak her written word out loud to grow. And so on the right-hand side, I have a quote about how her thinking has changed, her feelings had changed. I talked about a struggle that she underwent that sparked that change. I have symbolism in the background that represents the setting of the story towards the end, the place where she had that growth. And then I've decorated with some things that show the change in her thoughts and in her, how she went from being silent to being empowered and speaking out loud again. So this is a visual of like what yours will end up looking like. Again, I did Maya Angelou from I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, just so I didn't use content that you were thinking of using, but you are designing a character from Sun by Lois Lowry that will showcase, this art will showcase a change in the character, growth in the character. Okay, so I'm super excited to see what you come up with. Be creative, be artistic, be unique with it. And if you have any questions, email me and I can help you out, or we can Zoom together. All right, have fun creating. Bye.